Hello everyone, this is Mike from the 30A Company. We are the Beach Happy Company. We're doing our best to keep you in touch with the coast. And that's not only scenery and dolphins and sunsets and cocktail recipes, but it's also the business of the beach. And part of that business, in fact, probably no bigger part of that business, is real estate. Many people own homes here, second homes, even third homes. And of course, there are many people who one day dream of living at the beach and saying, I'm out of the rat race, I want to go live on the coast and live the life that I've imagined. And that's why we work with 30arealestate.com and the Berkshire Hathaway Home Services team. And since we're getting so many questions about the effects of COVID-19 on the real estate market, we thought we would bring in the experts. These guys are the best of the best and lifelong locals, and they're going to be sharing all sorts of insights with us. I'm here with Jimmy, John David, Price, and Hunter, owners of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services here in Walton County. And just want to say thank you guys. You look healthy and happy, and you also look socially responsibly distant from each other. Where are you today?
So Mike, we're glad to be able to come to you today. We're actually in our offices. The governor deemed us as an essential service in real estate. And so one thing that we've done, obviously we're following the CDC guidelines. We actually have taped this out and made sure that we're 6 feet apart. But I just want to assure everybody that that real estate transactions are still happening along the coast. Obviously, with no one in town, as they've shut the beaches down, it has slowed down dramatically on those numbers, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But we have agents. I mean, we've got our 187 agents are out there following the guidelines, but they're out there showing property. They're out there giving virtual tours. They're out there doing FaceTime with people in other places so they can see properties. There's been zero interruption in the appraisal process, in the funding of loan process, in the recording of deeds. There has something that's under contract is moving along just as it should. There's not been any interruptions that I've seen. Anything y'all seen?
No, we're seeing closings every day. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's not business as usual,
Yeah.
but it's business under these circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah, still seeing business. I mean, just like you guys have said, still progress being made, deals being done, closings happening. We're very thankful for that.
So can you give everybody, for anybody who isn't aware of what the market conditions were like building up to this, what have the market conditions been like in our part of the world here, especially in Walton County and South Walton? But what have real estate prices been doing? What's the market been like up until the pandemic hit?
Yeah. Well, Mike, that's a really good question. Where the market has been coming into this environment. Short term, looking back across the last year, the first quarter of 19 was a little softer than we would have liked. But starting in May, we really saw an acceleration in the sale of detached single-family homes, and that's kind of our barometer of the market. And from May going forward, we saw that increase. And then what's interesting is when you look back from March, going back 7 months, 6 of those 7 months, we set records for the most homes sold for those months against any month going back to the year 2000. So the market was really, to put it bluntly, it was on fire. And we saw low interest rates, demand through the roof, pricing was really good from a historical standpoint. We were just rocking along. And we had seen that continue really from the bottom of 2010 moving forward, just a steady increase really building into that last year. We were and are very optimistic about what we have going forward, and from a historical perspective probably couldn't have been in better shape due where we were in the market, and it's the time in the cycle.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, because the first quarter of this year, I mean, I've got some stats here of 30A overall on 30A.
Yeah.
The number of sales in Q1 of 2020, 250 sales. In 2019, we had 201. We're up 24%. Strong. Our average sold price was up 13% to 1.3. So I mean, we couldn't have been in a better shape.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I don't think anything's really changed. I mean, obviously, the virus has changed a lot of things of how we do business and things have shut down, but our market is still the same. I mean, we still have the best beaches, we still have the infrastructure that's going on. So we feel positive going forward, depending on how long this lasts. I mean, no one really knows, so there's a certain uncertainty about that. But Hunter can speak to that. You know, infrastructure is continuing to grow. I mean, we're all the things are leading into this market continuing if this hadn't happened.
Absolutely. I mean, our infrastructure has dramatically increased over the last 5 to 8 years. There's millions of dollars of projects going on right now in our immediate area. Apartments, roads being improved, new terminal, or new gates at the airport. I mean, there's lots of infrastructure that is continuing to move forward. I know St. Joe's continuing with all of their existing projects they've got going on right now. So those are big things for us. I would say that I think that our area, as we start to see our beaches come back alive and come open, that'll be our checkpoint as to what happens beyond that. I think I have my own mind. I'm pretty positive, but I think that we're going to see a pretty good flood of activity once they open the beaches here. We just don't know when that's going to be yet.
Yeah, I mean, so what are some of the things we've seen happen during this? So since this has started, I mean, what are some of the things we have seen that lend us to believe once those beaches do open or we're back open for business as usual, how we feel the market's going to continue to grow?
Let me mention one thing. I would say this too, that the numbers for the first quarter are probably, they're incredible numbers, but they were probably even tempered a little bit because as we saw, we had a number of people that kind of delayed closings. We had, obviously in the natural progress of business, you're going to have some cancellation of contracts. And we had some of those, where personal situations have changed. But we heard more of we didn't hear no, we heard not now. We heard people that extended contracts to say, hey, I want to get through a little bit of this. I still want the place. I just want to make sure that there's not something catastrophic that I'm missing here. Believing that the fundamentals are there. So I think, some of those things that we've seen is that, from that standpoint, I will go back and give you kind of an idea of what I saw back when we had the Great Recession, the differences. I think that's something that would be helpful, Mike, to let people know about. One of the things that we saw was the calls that I received at the end of the Great Recession when it began to change. There was a change, and we're in a shifting market right here. Was the calls that I received is you got to get me out of this place. And typically they were so leveraged that they had one or two places they were trying to get out of. The calls that I've received this time, which is completely different, have been, hey, let me know when there's an opportunity to buy. I want to buy there, and I think this may be my opportunity. So this is a complete shift and flip of where it was.
Yeah. And I think that is spot on. And I think when we start to take that, Mike, and you pick that apart and you begin to rewind the tape and you look at the fundamentals of what drove the hyper market before the Great Recession, it was all speculation. It was, just buying to flip and now
it was all leverage.
It was all leverage. And now starting back in 2010, we saw this massive influx of cash come into our market. So our foundation is completely different now than where we were then. We're just in a really strong position, and that's where I'm getting those same phone calls, and I think most of us are. People that are chomping at the bit for any weakness. So what I would say to that is there may not be a lot of weakness on 38 specifically. If you can find any, and you're considering buying, you may need to get to it versus waiting around because the line is long for people that are waiting to jump in. And
I think that's a great point, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that this is a very healthy market and it's a cash-driven market. Before it was levered during the Great Recession, as we're calling it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was leveraged and there was no money in so people could walk away. Mm-hmm. So today, these people, there's more cash in the market. I've had phone calls, I'm sure we've all had them as of late, where's the blood in the water? You know, let me know. I don't know if there's going to be blood in the water. We just don't know.
Right.
The longer this goes on, there may be there's going to be some fallout, and there's going to be some opportunity. But I think it's it feels very similar. Hunter and I were talking about this, about the oil spill. You know, we were coming out of that recession period and the banking crisis in 2010. Our first quarter was up 140% or so from the prior year, and we were ready to go, and damn it if it wasn't an oil spill, you know? So what else can you throw at us? Now they throw a virus at us. Hunter, kind of talk about the oil spill and the similarities that I think we're feeling about.
Yeah, I mean that's a unique reference that we have in this area with an oil spill. I mean the folks in the nation don't have that type of reference, but for us to be able to reference something that is that abrupt and that unique, and that it really shut our phones down to the point where everyone was watching TV, watching that well spew oil into the Gulf of Mexico, and when they showed the cap go on, our phones immediately started ringing. Maybe it was pent-up demand, but we were on fire after that point. And to your point as well, is like right now when we look at our new pending contracts from week by week, we've seen pending contracts starting from March 1st in the mid 20s to last week we had new pending contracts at 5. So we may have seen a bottoming out of new pending contracts this week so far. Right now we've got 9 in our immediate area.
Yeah.
That's just this local area.
Yeah. So I think what happens in those times of uncertainty, when the oil spill was happening and it's flowing on Fox News constantly or every news channel, it's not helping anything. I mean, the phones were still ringing, and our phones are still ringing. People want to know what the opportunity is, and we're still early in this. We don't really know. We didn't know then. Where's the bottom? Where's the bottom? Look, if I had a crystal ball, I'd tell you. I don't know where the bottom is, but you're right. There was that pent-up demand happening, and once they capped that oil tanker or that oil spill, it just went. I mean, the phones were ringing, boom, and sales. Next day, it's like turning the faucet back on. So, I mean, hopefully we're in that situation again.
We don't know if we are, but for us to have that kind of reference. That's the only reference we really have.
Yeah.
No one really has a reference of how a virus is going to affect the real estate market. But I mean, there's some some things out there that say the investor market of jumbo loans has frozen up. We know that local banks are still lending. We've made those
as long
calls.
as they're bankable. As long as it's a good
as long
loan.
as the people are bankable, sure, their jumbo loans are still active. So we are where we are. Right?
Yeah. So I think it's a little bit of wait and see, but there's a lot of positive momentum. It sounds like. I mean, 9 new contracts this week that we can see, and that's an increase.
We're not through the whole
week.
week.
No,
it's just this week.
So.
For all intents and purposes, you guys are lifelong locals. Jimmy, I know you're literally a lifelong local, and I know that you other guys have seen this area change dramatically over the years and have seen it emerge from some pretty extraordinary catastrophes, ranging from hurricanes, whether it's Opal or Michael, to even the Deepwater Horizon BP oil spill, which threatened this coast, and not to mention just normal ebb and flow of economic and housing crises. How are you seeing this COVID-19 pandemic being similar or different? How does it contrast to, say, the stock market crash or to a Deepwater Horizon incident? How is COVID-19 different in that aspect, and what should people be considering as they're looking at potential real estate investments in this area long term?
Mike, I think that's the biggest thing that we can do. I mean, we can't see what's going to happen in the future, but the best thing we can do is to see if we can find things that maybe are different, like you say, that are contrasting from what it was before. I know going back, and if you look, 2005 in reality, the market only pulled back about 5% as far as values in 2005. The biggest thing is that because people were so leveraged, people were upside down when the market pulled back 5%. And so that then began to almost, people are like panicking, and it ate itself all the way down because people were just trying to get out as quick as they could. Versus here, I don't want to speak for the overall market, but I know my business and everybody's business I talk to, really starting in 2011 for about a 4-year stretch here, well over half of the transactions were in cash.
Sure.
And cash reacts differently in disruption. Cash doesn't panic. Cash understands that it's cyclical, and there may be opportunity here. Cash doesn't have to sell. And so there's some differences there. Price, what do you?
No, you're absolutely right, Jimmy and Mike. Great question. It is very different now. Where we were, and at the end of the last cycle, 2005-06, we were dealing with really our demand pool, our buyer pool was so much smaller. We were really dealing with more of a regional type of reach. We had some people out further into the country, but it just really wasn't the way it is now. Now, our reach is really national. We have people from the West Coast, just Northeast, our typical buyer pool, Midwest, everywhere knows about us. And I think that was really the good thing that came out of the last cycle, is the awareness of our area. Is people, after the correction, they would talk about their experiences, where they were, and they started to talk about our area. Then we got things like you, Mike, with 38.com, big developers, all these people to start touting the area, which has just really opened it up and has fundamentally changed our market. Now we have all this, as Jimmy spoke about, all these people that have bought with cash. And why? Because they want to be here. They want their children to be here, their relatives, their friends. Is completely different than the mindset of a person that bought it as an investment only to pass it on to the next person to make a dollar. It's completely changed. So, to JD's point earlier in the conversation, we're going to see a little bumpy road for a little bit, and there's going to be some opportunity. But will it have the depth of the last go round? I really don't see that. To Hunter's point about infrastructure and all the things that are improving, and the change here has been so good, so healthy. I think we could not be in a better place. I don't want to minimize the pain that so many people are going through across the country that have lost their jobs, have the virus, have loved ones affected with the virus. That's rough stuff. I'm not minimizing that whatsoever, Mike. That is, it hurts my heart. But when we back up and then we go up and look at this area from a 30,000 foot view, man, a little pullback with the strength we've got out there, with, as John David talked about, the underlying reasons that make our area so desirable, the sugar white beaches, emerald water, the wonderful people here, that's not changed. Yeah. We're going to have interest rates low for the next couple of months, the next couple of years, probably. It's going to be a great opportunity. To Hunter's point, going to have some pent-up demand from this period because people are calling. We know they're ready to get in. We know it. So JD, I'm excited about it, aren't you?
I feel very comfortable with where we're at. It's a different buyer, and that's exactly what you're saying. Before it was speculative buying. Everyone was leveraged to the hilt, no cash in the deal, easy to pull away when the market crashes. Hey, give it back to the bank and let's go. Today, it's a much smarter buyer. It's a stronger buyer. So I think we're seeing some things that as the virus continues to go on and as long as it continues, we're seeing, I think, the world's going to change. I think going forward, life is going to be different. And I don't really know what that means other than the fact that I know that our area, the day that things started getting out of control, I was telling Hunter, I had 4 or 5 calls of people wanting to come down here for 2 to 3 months from dense populated areas. Washington, D.C. was one, Dallas was one, that wanted to quarantine here. They wanted to be here.
We may see that accelerate.
I don't think that changes. I think what happens is, and we can kind of talk about how this whole thing's going to affect our area to a degree. My personal belief is that I believe that companies are going to realize that people can work from home. They can work remotely. They're going to see that this works. They're going to look at cutting overhead. They're going to look at how they do their business. And if people want to be here to quarantine, they want to be here to live.
Right.
You know?
Completely.
And,
Oh, so good.
and I do believe people are going to be saying, hey, I want to get out of these densely populated areas. I want to live in an area like this. And I may have to travel back and forth a bit. But I do believe you're going to see a demand for permanent residents. And we're seeing it in our new homes division. Hunter can speak to that. The demand for our new homes is amazing, and then it's permanent residents. It's people moving to the area.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. I mean, when we look at our folks that have been buying in one of our communities at Watersound Origins, we're over the last 2 years we've been selling to 76% has been permanent resident buys.
So that
That's
has started
strong.
before all
Never
of
had
this.
That's
Strong.
unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a unique scenario that those data points are really strong. And why is that? Is really because the infrastructure here is so much superior than it was 10 years ago.
No doubt.
That people can come and go as they need to. It's a wonderful lifestyle, and everything's relatively new.
It's a livable beach town. Where else? The beach towns I go to, you can't really live there.
No.
You know.
Yeah.
Here we have infrastructure in place. We have schools. We have all of those things. So this is people, and we're still fairly unknown. I mean, that's the beauty of it. I mean, we're getting more and more known, and as Mike continues to keep doing what he's doing, everyone's going to know about us, and we're happy about that. Mike.
I will say this, one thing that is different now is the accessibility. If we go back and just look at the numbers, 2010, we had roughly, and I'm going to use 30A residential transactions, we had roughly, I think it was in the 330-ish range of transactions along 30A. Well, in order for a fire to continue to burn, it needs to have fresh wood. So the analogy for this of the fresh wood, where does that come from? Because we had been to that point, basically you could take a 6-7 hour swath and it was drive-in destination, 6 to 7 hours. June, they opened the airport. And when they opened that airport, it changed everything for us.
But before that time, 92% of the people that came to Walton County came by car.
That's not the case.
6, 7, 8 hour semicircle, if you will.
26 to 27 million people within that 8 hour.
But now here's what's happened is since that time now, and we see these flights are some of the most profitable routes that any of these carriers have during the season, which is expanding. I mean, we've seen this every year, the season for them, because of everything that TDC is doing, that Mike's doing, that everybody's doing, the season is expanding. So what's happened now is that we've got this access where people, I'll just tell you, for 25 years, until that airport opened, I had never sold anything to anybody just outside of that 6-7 hour swath. Then all of a sudden, literally within a year, I was selling things to people in Oklahoma City. I was selling things to people in Connecticut, in Chicago, in the Midwest, places that didn't have as easy of access. You take that 300 number in 2010, you then move forward to last year, we had over 1,000 transactions. That's a pretty substantial move in a 10-year period.
It is. It's huge, Jimmy. And to that point, growing up here, looking at it, you could think back 25 or so years ago, this town shut down in the wintertime.
We locked the doors.
Yeah, but after Labor Day closed.
Yeah.
Waited for spring break.
Golf
Now, now, you can be November driving around and the roads are packed. The sales of our business used to look like, it used to be like this. Now it's become so much more linear, so much more consistent and flat. It just tells you, to your point, how much this area has changed and how it's not a typical beach town. And we're still in our infancy. Infrastructure's still coming. We've got all this stuff. We've got so much room to grow. And all that, Mike's done, all that St. Joe's doing with the West Bay sector plan, and how much more livable this place is going to become, in the future as infrastructure comes, as the airport gets larger, more set up for smaller jets, larger runway for bigger jets. Folks, this is we are in an interesting dynamic period right now. So
I think Hunter, this is true too. To be right, like right now, talk about some of these transactions and these things we've been working this week, and what that buyer looks like, and are they looking for cash? Are they looking for financing? This is kind of interesting to see, something that's a potential trend as far as what we're seeing happening right now.
Yeah, most of the agents I'm talking to in our company right now are dealing with cash transactions.
Yeah.
The offers are, they're relatively lower, low than where the list prices are, but the offers are being made. They're cash transactions, close in a short period of time, much like we were seeing right there during the oil spill or right there after the oil spill.
I think they're testing the market.
Yeah, they are.
Who's
Which is the
feeling
first
good.
stage of the
It's the
cycle.
first
recovery.
Poking at people to see where
Yeah.
is their weakness. Could there be,
I mean, another
demand.
really good stat that we always try to track the upper end of our local market, and it may have been transactions that were already in motion, but new pending contracts above $2 million since March 1st. There are 10 new pending contracts above since March 1st. That's telling about where we are. I mean, people are doing business. People are wanting to do business here.
What about, like, for instance, the person you had? I mean, just finding a place.
Yeah, so I think what this pause in our business is doing, or pause in our country, if you will, is doing is people are rethinking their lives, and they're rethinking about how they want to live their life and the time they're spending with their family and where they vacation or where they have second homes. So Mike, I had an interesting phone call. I had a guy call me. He was staying at the Embassy Suites in Miramar Beach, which is right outside of 30A, and he was from Sarasota. He's from Kansas City, and he had a second home in Sarasota, Naples area, and said they got quarantined there. They're ready to get the hell out of there. They drove up here, and the state got shut down, and they found themselves at the Embassy Suites in Miramar Beach, and he's been here for 2 weeks, and he called me, found my phone number, and called me and says, man, we've been here 2 weeks. My wife and I have been driving around, and this place is amazing. We had no idea. We'd heard about it, never been here. Can you show us property? I'm like, yes, sir. Of course I can. I'll stay far away and wear my gloves and all this. I'll Lysol you down, but and he's looking at $2.5-3 million houses.
Yeah.
And I think you're just going to see more of that. It's still a time of uncertainty. We just don't know what's going to happen. I don't think anyone can tell you. But what we've talked about today is a little bit about the past and things that have happened in the past that are good indicators. I do believe we're going to see new demand created because of this. We already have talked about how strong the market was and still is. It's going to be an interesting time. I think we're going to come out of this. I feel very optimistic. Again, I don't know. We don't know. Anyone tells you they know, they're lying.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
Yeah.
Changes daily,
Yeah.
almost, it seems like.
That's why we're tracking the new contracts per week right now.
Yeah.
So, given the current circumstances, given what we're going through in this moment of uncertainty, what should potential buyers be looking at today? What should people be asking? What should they be doing? And what should they expect in the months ahead?
Good question, Mike. We know that all pandemics end at some point.
Absolutely.
If I'm taking the buyer side, I would have to look at it and say that, with this intensity of uncertainty right now, why would you not take this opportunity if you've identified a property in this area to learn a little bit, see what a seller's thinking? Why would you not do that? I mean, 6 to 8 months from now, you're gonna be glad you did that.
Yeah, I think in times of uncertainty, we don't know what every buyer and seller should do. Everyone's circumstance is going to be different. What we do know is that when there's times of uncertainty, people flee to somewhere that's safe. Whether it's their family, it's their relationship with God, it's their somewhere that's trusted. And so we at Berkshire Hathaway Beach Properties of Florida, we feel like we are a trusted brand. It's the #1 brand in the world, if not. So we've built a team of 187 agents that are poised to give you the information as we get it. We don't know what's happening, but our job is to provide you with as much information as we can. And I think buyers and sellers need to take that into account. Don't you agree, Bryce?
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly, John David. I think for buyers and sellers right now, the single most important thing they could do is work with a trusted advisor. As John David said, someone that's been here, done it, takes their business seriously, looks at the numbers, comes with facts, and can guide you based on that. We're so lucky to have this crew that we've kind of assembled here as a leadership team of Berkshire Hathaway, Home Services, Beach Properties of Florida, to where we've been around. We've seen up and downs, and we're here doing the deal, day in and day out, and more than that, we have 187 trusted advisors that work with us, stretched from Navarre to St. George Island, that they care. They care about you, they care about what they do, and they put you first. That, and it's not just us. There are several other brokerages along the coast that operate the same way. And I would implore you to go and seek out those people. Those are the people you want on your side now. That's the single best thing, if you are a buyer and seller, you could do right now is hit yourself with someone that's going to put you first. And then, as Hunter said, Start looking around, start educating yourself. As John David said, in the uncertain times, people flee to safety. And folks, our area, nothing has changed. And I believe as this shakes out, with the ability for people to work remotely, we're going to see a migration of people to this area like we've probably never seen before. There's going to be pent-up demand. Is it going to be a rocky road for a little bit? Sure. And do we understand that a lot of people are going through a lot right now? Absolutely. JD, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I mean, that's perfectly well said. The one thing I will add is that buyers and sellers need to seek out a trusted real estate advisor.
Oh, thank you. Let's put a finer point on it.
A finer point. Because advisors, I mean, a lot of people, several in the last week that I've talked to, let me talk to my financial advisor. And that's great for your portfolio of whatever but for real estate, we are the experts. We are the experts.
We're local. And those guys are looking at what? The stockbroker's looking at a global situation, which has some bearing on our area, but not dramatically. You need someone that's that is in tune with what's going on in their local market, got their thumb on the pulse of the local market, right?
We all know real estate is local. It does, what happens in Atlanta doesn't mean it happens here. So you need, if you're a buyer and seller in this market today, you need to seek someone that's a local real estate agent who's an expert in the market.
For sure.
And we feel we are those people.
Yeah, and I will say this too, first off, how have we come the old guys that got all the experience?
Yeah.
I mean? It's crazy. I mean, Mike, here we are. I mean, that's, it's crazy. You go through life and we've all had times of struggle, times that were good, and all of those things in reality, I believe, just have almost created us to be in this position to have the opportunity to share those experiences that we had in this, not, just in the world, in this market, on this beach. Yeah. We have been through some things that we hopefully can add value to other people. That's the whole tenement of this. Is understand. It's kind of crazy for us to look back. And think about that this group right here closed over $1 billion on this beach. That we've got over 100 years of experience on this beach in our leadership team.
God, makes us feel old.
I know it is. I know it's so
wow.
bad. But I will say this. I want to echo what you're talking about, people fleeing to safety. The fundamentals of the reasons why people loved our beach before have only been enhanced. Less density, a lifestyle of health, a focus on family, the ability to join in a group and come together with a family in a way that you can't do in a lot of other places. I tell people a lot of times when they're asking me, about, what is the difference in this place and everywhere. And a lot of people that are our buyers now, which are end users, they're not focused on what does this look like value-wise in 2 years. They're focusing on what does this look like long-term. Most of the buyers that are in our market right now, for the most part, are legacy type buyers. Now they may reposition. They may say, "Oh well, I got an extra grandchild. I need 5 bedrooms instead of 4." But we don't have people leaving our market for the most part. They're repositioning. But one of the things that has been the biggest thing for me to see with buyers, especially that have moved into our market, is I always ask them this. I say, "Let me ask you this," because typically a purchase here is not even about the individual buyer. It's about their family. It's about their kids, their grandkids, the people they get to share this with.
Yep.
And so what is that question that I always ask is let me ask you this. When you were a kid, what's the biggest memory you have of your childhood? Immediately you think of a family vacation. That's not going to change.
No.
And the biggest thing right now is people that are considering buying here is ask yourself, what are your kids? What are your grandkids? What are they going to remember about you, about your family, about their childhood? And I'm telling you, the opportunity to purchase here, those same family members are only going to be enhanced going forward. The same fundamentals we had of people wanting to live here, it's only enhanced. The access to our area is only being enhanced. Now, do we have a struggle right now? Absolutely.
Sure.
Is it going to be tough for a little while? Absolutely. How long? None of us know. Will it end? To Hunter's point? Absolutely. So from that standpoint, has your fundamental reason for wanting to live here, purchase here, vacation here, it's only been enhanced in my opinion. So I think going forward, Mike, this is going to be a time where we're going to look back on this once we come through it. And this is going to be a time where we're going to look back regionally and be like, that was a catalyst or fertilizer, so to speak, for new growth. And so I've got a lot of confidence, not necessarily, obviously, who knows what's going to happen in the next month or so. 2 years from now, man, I got complete confidence in our area, in the group of people that live here and the lifestyle we get to live.
All right, I want to thank Jimmy and John David and Hunter and Price. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for everything the Berkshire Hathaway Home Services team does in our community. And thank you for spending some time with us to let you know what we can expect, hopefully, as this pandemic lifts and things return to normal. And I echo your sentiments completely. We've seen it after the stock market crashes. We've seen it after hurricanes. We've seen it after oil spill. Things come back stronger than ever. And I agree with you. I don't think that this circumstance is going to be any different. So you guys stay healthy and happy, and thank you, and we'll talk soon.